And he checks back the really dry flop, and I go ahead and just bet the turn. And he does his raise again, and I am not sure what to make of it because really only a spade draw picked up on the turn, and it's I can't really deduce too much about what he has from that last hand. When I guess I didn't even see his hand, but I would presume he had an ace on that other hand that he did this, and then he goes ahead and bets almost full pot, and I call more so out of curiosity than anything on what is this guy checking back, raising the turn, and then betting big on the river, and he checked back trip aces on the flop. Uh, what do I think of that play? I actually think it's fine. It's a pretty dry flop because it's rainbow and it's ace high, and he does have the aces pretty much crushed. Lucky for him, I had one, but I really don't actually mind his play, especially because he checked back that other flop and then raised the turn uh, and wound up having a weak hand that had to fold to a shove on the river, and now he has the nuts when he's doing it. I actually thought it was pretty decent spot to mix that in, and I absolutely wasn't folding on the river because he just played the hand with such a weird line that not many hands make sense. So I'm just gonna call you, and if you have trip aces, yeah, I mean you have trip aces. If you have a better hand, you have a better hand. That's fine. But I get a little piece of information, and also you're gonna see some cheese a good amount there too, because that line just doesn't really make much sense. So I really don't mind my call there, and I don't really mind how he played it either. And he leads out here. He'd been doing this a couple times, and I just raised him real quick. I raised him pretty small, actually. I probably should have thought about that more, but I just wanted to raise him quick and make him think that I'm just trying to, play back at him or something like that, so he does something super thin. And then I just bet 42, insta call a shove, and he winds up having, flopped a boat on a fairly drawless board. I mean, that's just pretty standard cooler, but do I like his lead in that spot? Not really. He has the deck completely crushed. It's pretty drawless out there. It's really leading. You're really hoping that I just turn complete air into a crazy bluff on you, I guess, because that board doesn't hit very many hands, and he has the deck crushed, so he hits even less hands. And then on this flop, I see betted, he check calls, and then on that type of a turn, I'm just giving up. Nines improved, tens aren't folding. A lot of his other hands are pair plus straight draw. He winds up having a six with a good kicker that he might have folded had I bet turn, but I really would have just been betting to fold out sixes and stuff. I think it's pretty standard. Check, give up on trying to win that pot when the turn nine falls, and he's worked up quite a big stack on us, and it definitely looks like he's in control, and he really thinks he's in control of this match so far. He's really being the aggressor and stuff like that, and he's making the big hands and winning the pot so far. So it's just some things to keep in mind. Where his mindset's at throughout the match. He's probably feeling pretty good right now. Up a couple buy-ins and whatnot, and pretty standard hand with the queen ten here. Once the turn checks through, I think that we have a river bet that can be called by worse. And he leads out on the 9-4-3 rainbow flop. I've seen him do this before, and then instantly check fold on the turn on that 10xx board in the beginning when we had queen 10, and I just call on the flop here because I just call on the flop here because I think he's just leading air a good amount over cards. you know, 6-7 or something like that, a good amount. And I think that ace high does pretty good against his range, so I'm, you know, calling the ace high for its value. Because I think his range has got a lot of air in it, as evidenced kind of by the earlier hand. If I didn't have an ace high hand, I probably would have tried raising. But because I had an ace high, and ace high does pretty good as a bluff catcher, I think in this spot I chose to just play the ace high for its value, and he wound up having queen 10 offsuit, which I think is a fine lead. But if you hit an 8 turn like that, and you still have your overs plus a gutter now, I think it's mandatory spot to be betting. And I mean, my range on the flop has got to be kind of weak. You know, I'm just calling on a 9-4-3 rainbow. I probably have, you know, a lot of weak pairs or ace highs in my range there. So I would definitely be betting that turn if I was him and I had led the flop. And he would have probably got me off my ace high. And he does this again, and not sure. I contemplate raising. I like raising better than calling here, because there's a bunch of turns that are all overcards on fours, and it just makes it really hard to play if he decides to, you know, keep betting into us. And I raise, and he instantly calls, and this means that he has either like a 10 that I don't really think he's folding, or a spade draw in which the 4 has showdown value. So I decided to actually just check the turn and not, you know, continue bluffing it. But I do improve to 2 pair on the river, and I decided to make a pretty healthy bet. You know, he can't really put it like a flush in my range or anything like that, since I checked the turn. Or I would expect him to be check calling that river a very good amount of the time with a 10, and he did wind up having a 10, 9-10, and we rivered him, and we got a good bet off, which I was pretty happy about. But I like my flop play of raising that 4 rather than just calling it, because it kind of makes it's turning it into a small bluff, but it makes I think our life easier on a lot of turn cards and stuff like that. And okay, so I decided to 3-bet. Why do I do this? With a 7-5 of clubs. Well, let's talk about this for a second. My range is for 3-betting has been, well, if you see on the poker tracker thing, it's been at 3% so far. And this guy, he is definitely like a thinking player, and he notices, you know, pretty obvious things and stuff like that. And he's going to notice that I have been 3-betting an extremely tight range out of position. So what's he going to put me on when I do that? Strong hand. What are types of strong hands? You know, big pocket pairs, big overcards, stuff like that. So he's going to put me on a very tight hand range, a very strong hand range, and I want to mix in. Instead of doing it with like a really strong hand range, I want to actually mix in some junky type hands like 7-5 of clubs, for a couple reasons. One, because they're super disguised to this guy, because he will never see me, you know, just randomly, you know, pulling off a 3-bet with 7-5 clubs. I really wouldn't expect him to see that coming, and I wouldn't expect that from a player, you know, who's 3-betting 3% so far, and then he 3-bets me. I wouldn't put him on a suited connector. I'd put him on a big hand. So that brings me to my second reason, is that because we're 3-betting at such like a low frequency, and with a pretty, you know, small perceived range, we still have the fold equity of the very, very tight and strong range of all of our over pairs and all of our big, you know, big high card hands and stuff like that. We still have a lot of fold equity, because we have a very strong perceived range in his eye. So we can definitely be profitably playing 7-5 of clubs for